my goodness, the devastation. The devastation. Do you remember where you were? Maybe it had to do with the holidays and the big guy in the chimney. But do you remember where you were when you found something? Oh my God, my world. My world shook up. I was over at bloodyelbow.com just now. And my good buddy Jesse Holland had wrote a piece. He said, and he titled it right on the piece, he said, Conor McGregor and the mascot was staged and that it was a skit. And as hard as that is to believe, and Jesse would like us just to ignore the fact that we all saw Conor punch the mascot. We all saw the mascot go down. We saw Conor punch it again. We were told that the mascot was taken to the emergency room. We saw all of these things, and now Jesse wants us to just mysteriously believe it didn't happen, right? It's like the magician that cuts the girl in half, but then look, she's put back together. I guess Jesse wants us to think that Conor wasn't at the game. There wasn't a person, a participant, inside of the costume, that they didn't fall to the floor, and they weren't taken off in an emergency. And who did he write that for? Like, I have the largest audience in combat sport. That's true. That's a verifiable number. Look at my number. Look at anybody else's. But I never told my audience, which is everybody, that was staged. And the reason I didn't do that is because while I don't hold you to my intellectual equal, that is true. This is university and I am the professor. I don't think you're stupid. I mean, you're not me, but you're not stupid. Could you imagine? Because I can't even imagine coming to make a video to let you all know. And what is it that I'm trying to avoid here? I'm trying to let you know that Conor is not going to be in another lawsuit. Is that what it is? I'm letting you know that Conor's license won't be suspended by a commission for leashing out in an act of violence because it was a performance. Like, what is it that I'm telling? And who of you needed told? I mean, there's only two things in the world that have got to be right now. Two things. News and sport. No matter how well Super Bowl 15 did, it will never be on TV again. It could be the highest rated event ever. It will never be on TV again. Sport has to be live, and so does news. This punch happened days ago. My man Jesse just had to put an article out to a few of you bozos that it was staged. I'm just bringing that to your attention. That's fascinating to me. That's very fascinating. And says who, by the way? I mean, Conor coming out and telling the world that this was a staged skit is a completely separate conversation from, did Conor hit that person? Did Conor hit them in the head? Did Conor do it with a closed fist? Did Conor hurt that person? These are all separate conversations. And therein lie part of the problem. It truly does. Matt Hughes was asked, I believe it was Matt Hughes, might have been Chuck Liddell. I think it was Matt Hughes. Back in that era when those guys were both kings, right? Some fan asked him to choke him out. Said, hey, will you choke me out? And Matt put him in the choke and he was squeezing and the fan didn't know to tap. He just didn't know. Whatever he thought was going to happen or what Matt thought his expectation, who knows? The guy went unconscious. And that wasn't so much the big deal. It was when Matt let go. The person now, because they're unconscious, they go down there, hit their head. They sued him. And it was this massive lesson learned because whether the person asked for that to happen or not, it didn't change the fact of what happened. I mean, I only bring that to you. If you're telling me that was staged and that was agreed upon ahead of time, that isn't going to discount what happened, which was a professional fighter took a closed fist and threw it into somebody's what appeared to be head. They were in a costume, but appeared to be their head. And now that person who went down to the ground also then went to the ER. Like, none of those things are subsequent, whether it was agreed upon or not. So I don't know the point of the article. What is it you're trying to write it for? He didn't lose his temper. It was staged, this whole thing was. I mean, Did you not think when the big bird went down and then 5 of his own friends circled him, grabbed his paws, and drug him off the court, that maybe we were electing ourselves mayor of Get the Hintville? I'm very confused by it. I mean, I've got to tell you, I really am. I really am. The pro wrestlers finally came out. They admitted, right? They admitted when things were staged. But that was a big debate when I was growing up. Bruce Baumgartner, dare I say, the most respected American wrestler of all time. He is currently the president of Edinburgh University, where for many years he was the athletic director. And I might have switched those two roles because I know that Bruce is the president of the body that gets elected for USA Wrestling. So he's got so many titles and so much success that I could be confusing them, and likely am, but I remember him going on 2020. I was a very small child, and Bruce Baumgartner, the most respected American wrestler ever, was on 2020. And he was breaking down a WWF wrestling match. And they were slowing it down and, okay, rewind, okay, stop right there, okay, rewatch, right? I mean, it was like the mad X's and O's. And Bruce's final conclusion, his final conclusion on 2020 was that he thinks the wrestlers were working together. He doesn't know for sure, but he did think that they were. And the rest of America was kind of split right down the middle too. Right down the middle of, no, this is really happening versus people used to say it was fake or it was staged. Their big problem is they use the wrong word. The word is a cooperation. Not is it fake. It's not is it staged. It's not is it scripted. The word is that person cooperating or not? And NASCAR hasn't gotten to this point, right? And when the wrestlers did it, it was met with great resistance. Great resistance, right? You're turning, you're exposing the business. You're exposing the secrets of the business, and nobody's going to be able to draw, and nobody's going to be able to sell. The whole business in the enterprise is going to be harmed because you opened your mouth. There was magicians that did this, and they had to go into hiding, allegedly. I frankly don't believe it, but they claim the masked magician. Do you guys remember this? It was on NBC. The masked magician. He never spoke, and you never saw his face because he gave away the secrets behind some of the world's most elusive magic tricks. And I only share for you when the wrestlers turned on the business or when the masked magician took the check and turned on his whole industry, people thought it was going to end in industry. And it was met with tremendous pushback. And NASCAR hasn't yet done it. Eventually, the drivers will come out and tell you, yes, of course, if we're all doing the same thing, which is taking the same car against the same people, there's not going to be a different outcome, but we get one every Sunday. Eventually, they're going to come out and tell you. When that day happens, much like the great Jesse Holland did on Bloody Elbow today, when the day comes and you get told, you will always have to know in your heart that Chael told you first.